Chapter 11. The Heartbreaking Truth. The meeting room was silent, painfully silent. Teachers sat around a large table. The principal sat at the head. Mrs. Parker sat quietly in her chair, unable to stop thinking about Lily. 3 days had passed. Still no sign of her. No answers. No explanation. Only questions. Then the school counselor entered the room, holding a thin folder. A folder that contained pieces of Lily's life. Pieces nobody had ever seen. The counselor slowly opened it. "We've been speaking with Lily's family," she said softly. Everyone listened carefully. What they learned next changed the room completely. Lily's father left years ago. Several teachers exchanged glances. The counselor continued. Since then, her mother has been working multiple jobs just to survive. Mrs. Parker lowered her eyes. A heavy feeling settled in her chest. But that's not all. The counselor paused. Lily has been helping raise her younger brothers. Silence. Real silence. Not a single person spoke. Every day after school, she cooks. She cleans. She helps with homework. She takes care of the twins when her mother works late. The room felt smaller, heavier. Mrs. Parker remembered every time she called Lily lazy, every disappointed look, every assumption, and suddenly, those memories felt unbearable. The counselor continued. Many nights she stays awake until midnight, sometimes even later. One teacher whispered, "She's only 13. The counselor nodded sadly. Yes. Then came the part that broke everyone's heart. The night before her presentation. Mrs. Parker looked up immediately. Lily stayed awake, caring for one of her brothers who was very sick. The room froze. Every teacher stared in disbelief. The presentation, the trembling voice, the blank mind, the tears. Everything suddenly made sense. Mrs. Parker covered her mouth. For the first time, she realized exactly what had happened. Lily hadn't failed because she didn't care. She failed because she was exhausted, because she was carrying responsibilities most adults struggled to handle. A tear rolled down Mrs. Parker's cheek. She quickly wiped it away, but she couldn't stop the guilt. Meanwhile, across town, Brandon sat alone in his bedroom. He couldn't stop thinking about Lily either. The jokes didn't feel funny anymore. The nickname didn't feel harmless anymore. Everything felt different now. Then his phone buzzed. It was a message from Jake. "Did you hear?" Brandon replied. "Hear what?" Several seconds passed. Then another message appeared. Lily was taking care of her family this whole time. Brandon stared at the screen. His stomach dropped. More messages followed. She wasn't lazy. She worked harder than all of us. The teachers just found out. Brandon slowly put the phone down. Suddenly every memory came rushing back. Every joke, every laugh, every cruel comment. Turtle. The nickname echoed in his mind. For the first time, he hated hearing it, because now he understood something. The weakest person in the classroom had actually been the strongest, and he had never noticed. Back at school, the meeting finally ended, but nobody stood up immediately. Nobody knew what to say, because the truth was devastating. They hadn't failed Lily once. They had failed her every single day. Mrs. Parker walked into her empty classroom. The sunlight shined through the windows. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. Lily's desk, still empty.
Mrs. Parker slowly walked toward it. Then she noticed something, a folded piece of paper inside the desk. Her heart began beating faster. Carefully, she opened it. It was written in Lily's handwriting. A letter. And what Mrs. Parker read next would change everything. Chapter 12. Lily's letter. Mrs. Parker stood alone in the classroom. The folded paper trembled slightly in her hands. The room was completely silent. Only the sound of her heartbeat filled the air. Slowly, she unfolded the letter. At the top of the page were 3 simple words. Dear Mrs. Parker. The teacher swallowed hard. Then she began reading. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. Mrs. Parker immediately closed her eyes. A sharp pain hit her chest. Even now, Lily was apologizing. The teacher continued reading. I know I'm not the student you wanted me to be. I know I make mistakes. I know I'm slower than everyone else. A tear rolled down Mrs. Parker's cheek. Because Lily believed those things. Not because they were true, but because people had made her believe them. The letter continued. Sometimes I try very hard, but no matter how hard I try, it never feels like enough. Mrs. Parker could barely breathe. When people laugh at me, I pretend it doesn't hurt. When they call me names, I smile and stay quiet. But the truth is, the teacher's hands shook. It hurts every single time. Mrs. Parker covered her mouth. For years she had taught students. For years she believed she understood children. But somehow, she had completely missed Lily's pain. The letter continued. I don't blame anyone. Maybe if people knew my story, they would understand. Mrs. Parker whispered softly. No, Lily. But the letter went on. My mom works very hard. My brothers need help. Sometimes I feel tired all the time. Tears blurred the teacher's vision. I wish I could explain. I wish I could tell people why I'm always late, why I look tired, why I fall asleep sometimes. The classroom felt unbearably heavy. Then came the line that broke Mrs. Parker completely. I wish someone would ask if I'm okay. Silence. The teacher could no longer stop crying, because she realized something terrible. She had never asked. Not once. She had corrected Lily, warned Lily, judged Lily, but she had never asked the simplest question. Are you okay? Meanwhile, the principal and counselor entered the room. They saw tears on Mrs. Parker's face. What happened? The principal asked softly. Without speaking, Mrs. Parker handed them the letter. Minutes later, all 3 adults were crying. Crosstown, Brandon sat alone in his room, still thinking about Lily, still feeling guilty. Then his phone rang. It was Jake. Everyone's talking about the letter. Jake said quietly. What letter? The one Lily left. Brandon listened silently. Jake explained what the teachers had discovered. The struggles, the responsibilities, the pain. And then he mentioned one sentence. I wish someone would ask if I'm okay. Brandon froze, because suddenly he remembered something. A lunch break months earlier. Lily sitting alone, looking sad, looking exhausted. And instead of asking if she was okay, he had laughed. The memory hit him like a truck. For the first time in his life, Brandon cried, not because he was sad, because he was ashamed of the person he had been. The next morning, Mrs. Parker gathered the class. Students entered the room quietly. Nobody joked. Nobody laughed. The atmosphere felt different, heavy, serious. Mrs. Parker stood at the front, holding Lily's letter. Her eyes were red. The students immediately noticed. Then Mrs. Parker spoke. "There is something all of you need to hear." The classroom became completely silent, and as she prepared to read Lily's words aloud, every student was about to face a truth they could never forget.